but I'd love to start with the three questions that you have,
Yeah,
which I think are a sort of a litmus test almost to
they are.
say, has
They are.
this strategy embedded? Let's walk through those. What's the first? So let's begin by saying, um, who should be asking these questions, to who, and when? Let's start there.
Yeah. So this is really the point at which the exec code's done their job. They're communicating with their line managers. This is for those managers that now need to take a message that may not have been something that they have come up with, because it's not an idea that they may have evolved or gone through a journey to get to. Um, they have to really test their understanding. So you've got, three questions that I think I like simplicity because we're all really busy, but it's sort of, what does this mean for us or me or my team or my department or my vision or us as a group of people? And what does that mean in a timed sort of period of time, a time frame? So,
So,
you know,
so for clarity, these are people who were not in the room and they're
yeah,
hearing this almost secondhand, but they've now got to become the communicators of it to more people.
Yeah, so this is that level of implementers within
Yep.
your organization that will be in control of the departments that, do the tactics, do the actions in order to give you the fruits that you're working hard for. So this is for that level, like understanding what does this mean for us? This is the beginning of that process of what actions do we need to do? What resources do we have within our organizations, our individual verticals, if you like? Do I have the right skill set? Do I have the right people? Do I have the right resources available to me, whether that's from a tech perspective, location perspective, subject matter knowledge, expertise perspective? That's the first sort of question you want to do. And that helps you really understand where some of the questions that you're going to get from other layers are going to start coming in. It gives you that thought process of being able to come up with, this is the why that people will inevitably ask. And you must remember this will help you win people over, not arguments, because you don't want to get into arguments with people. So if you have
Right.
a credible response when somebody asks you why, please don't assume they won't, they will, then you're going to be okay. You're 90% of the way there in your journey because you've done the thinking from their aspect, and that's what people get. They want to see that from you.
So
The-
that sounds key to me. It's not that you're going out and almost inviting um, pushback and
Mm,
even a debate. It's to something where you are able to communicate it with enough conviction and
mm,
simplicity yourself
mm,
that the people that, because I always say that communication is what the listener does. So when
yeah.
somebody listens and hears it, they understand it and they believe it.
Yeah, I think another aspect to that is, don't assume you're not going to be asked tough questions. Don't assume that people aren't going to ask why. Don't avoid them. Don't be avoidistic in this. And this exercise is about having done that thinking so you're prepared for it. So you don't have to do, let's take it offline, let's do this, let's do that. All the things that we tend to do to avoid, because avoiding adds to the confusion. And that's what we're trying to combat here. And people buy from people. If you're not sold, they're going to pick up on that. We are hardwired to understand when somebody is being avoidant or deceitful or mistrusting. And you have a very few initial opportunities to buy that credibility. So I think the work is really important, and that's what this sort of question is really about drawing out from you.
Andy, I'd go even further. I've
Okay.
heard people say, look, I don't believe in this myself. I think it's the
Mm.
wrong thing, but my
Yeah,
bosses have told me to say this, and therefore
yeah.
that's what we're doing. I don't like it myself, but like, let's do
Mm,
this because
mm,
there's no one around them.
yeah,
One, you look weak,
yeah.
and two, you just blown a hole in the whole strategy yourself,
If
right?
you're not, then why should we?
Exactly.
We've got an ally in resistance. This will require more work, more things to learn. I've got so many things going on in my life right now. I don't have time for this.
So your first question that gets asked is, what does this mean for me slash us in
Hmm.
the next 90 days?
Hmm.
So I'd like to dive into that a bit more. So first of all, is this a question I ask myself and say,
Yeah.
I asked myself this question, now I
Mhm,
get it? Or
mhm.
am I asking it of other people?
It's you asking yourself for yourself and your teams and your departments. And I pick 3 months because usually, if you're on a quarterly cycle basis or you've got OKRs, this will have an impact on those metrics. How am I going to get it? So, usually, it's like, what do I need to go through in order to get this? I've thought about it. This is when somebody says, oh, how's it going to affect my job? Well, we're going to have to change KPIs for this. It means that your call times might be slightly different. It means the targets are going to be slightly different. It's reassuring and giving them an opportunity. It's not because business is in trouble. It's because we're going for a new market share. We've done a bit of horizon scanning. So it's really being able to understand all of that so that you can go in there with confidence and understanding and be able to communicate clearly. It's also a wonderful exercise to go back to your manager and go, have I got this? I'm right? I don't also, opposite, I suppose, to the I don't buy this is not understanding it and having to go back and correct it later. That also has an
Yeah.
impact on ability and clarity as well.
Yeah. And I've experienced that firsthand, that sort
Mm,
of slight piece of doubt.
mm,
I don't quite understand it, but I don't feel brave enough or something to go back and ask
mm,
because it makes
mm,
me look stupid or
mm.
maybe a non-believer.
Or I
But
wasn't
if you
listening.
do,
Or, hmm.
or I wasn't listening or something,
Yeah.
and so therefore we sit with that doubt and we go, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'll get over it. But that piece of
Mm,
doubt shouts loud and clear to everybody that you're talking about. So this
mhm,
question to really ask yourself, okay, what does this mean for me, us, my teams, whoever, for the next 90 days?
mm.
If I cannot answer that properly, I have some work to do
Yeah.
myself before I can begin to communicate the strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all part of this sort of recency effect that you have with information or something that's new. Humans grab onto that really quickly. So you want to get it right first time round, and it's worth putting in the time and it's worth looking at yourself and it's worth kind of, I suppose, getting over that imposter syndrome sometimes that you have with if I go back and blah, blah, blah. It's about offering clarity to you and being prepared, being prepared to succeed in these conversations.
Yeah. And in my experience, actually, if you do go back with those questions, say, look, I'm a
Mm,
little unclear about this particular thing. Could
mm,
you help me out?
mm.
The person that's passing the message to you to then convey on is actually pretty happy you've asked,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they will help you clarify that. So the first question is, what does this mean for me, us in the next 90 days? I've now got a really clear idea about what this strategy means imminently.
Mhm,
Your second question is, what do we stop doing? Why
mhm.
do you ask that question?
I think it's really important for people to understand how is this going to affect the people that I'm communicating to? Because we know, or studies show, or just being a human being will tell you you want to understand how does this affect me? So normally it's a case of we need to stop this. And I think that's a nice way to start because what you're doing in this particular moment is thinking about how you're gifting your team's time and resource
Perfect.
and energy. Because if you're just going in and saying, we need these things from you, they are going to be visualizing their already busy days and under resourced departments from their perspective, as maybe the common sort of thought process that individuals have. But if you gift them time straight away on what they can stop doing, I think that's really helpful. And that helps you begin to win their minds and hearts and minds. Um, and it kind of, I found it really helpful. It's a really useful tactic that I've used. It's sort of like, I'm giving you this to prevent an argument.
Yeah,
And then this is what we need you to do now.
I, I love it. So what you're really saying to your teams is, here's the new direction, whatever that means. And we're talking a lot about the first 90 days because it's immediate and obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And you're then also carving out, you're saying these things that we were doing, they're
Mm-hmm.
no longer part of the strategy. We can stop those. So as
Mm-hmm.
you're right, already in my head, I'm saying, oh, relief. I don't need to do
Mm-hmm.
those things. I've got time. And then that naturally leads on to the third question, which is, what do we now start doing? Which presumably is different things.
Yeah. In my experience, people are really good at replicating a message, giving it parrot fashion, not really deeply understanding it. So that's a journey that this questionnaire is designed to take you on. But also, I think where people really fail sometimes, and that might come across strong, but they do fail, is they fail to think about what this means for the individuals. Like, what are they going to do? What is it that you're doing? Give them clarity, not confusion. I want to know what I'm going to be doing. Am I doing this? Am I not doing that? Do I, where am I going to be? What am I going? Do I have the resources? Those are the kinds of things. So this is really that thought process, and it's all to help you understand so that you've got conviction in what you're saying.
Yeah. And it also strikes me that if you're not explicit about stop doing these things, start doing these things,
Mm,
I'll make it up myself. And the chances are I will act in the wrong way. I will
yeah,
continue to do some things which are not needed.
yeah,
And I will start to do some things which are just not heading towards that strategy. So by being
absolutely.
really explicit, I'm removing a lot of doubt.
Yeah. And the reason that you kind of do it in this order is you will then be able to adjust people's KPIs and OKRs, the things that people are working towards. So the last thing that they remember is this is what I'm working towards. You need to replace that with something else that they know from their perspective. I'm going to start doing these things because my bonus is attached to this, because that pay request that I've got coming is going to be attached to this, because that promotion I want to go for is attached to this, or because this project that I'm working on is now attached to this, or I need to speak to those individuals, or I've got to redo my resources here. It's really important. Otherwise, they're just going to carry on the path that they've been going on for a while, probably, unless you start to
Yeah.
give them an alternative direction and start to give them an alternative North Star for them, and what that means for them on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, people will revert to what they know.
That's super interesting that you just said that, because this whole conversation is about the company strategy.
Mm,
But you are so right that um, everyone will be thinking, what's in it for me? And so
mm,
having a personal connection, you talked about not just KPIs, but bonus,
mm,
promotion, recognition. If I
mhm,
carry out the strategy, if I do the right things and help the company,
mm.
it's actually good for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's how people communicate and signal to levels that I'm ready, that I'd like more, that I'm there now, that I'm part of this journey. So yeah, 100% facilitate that where you can.
Great.